You had a
Respond
bigger book
immediately or we will be
Lance.
forced to open. I've got special orders.
You know me
You're
so
coming with
well,
me.
Dad.
Stand down and
So,
prepare for immediate
what do you
transport
say?
to our vessel. Smart decision. Stand by to be boarded and transferred. Get a lock and blast them!
I'm telling you, the commander's got plans for this loser. Why else would he be going through all this trouble? I still don't understand why he trusts a criminal. Seems like too much of a risk. Stop worrying and keep an eye on our guest. I'll be right back. You just sit tight. The commander wants to have a little chat. The prisoner's ready, sir. I hope you're comfortable. We have a lot to discuss. Highly perceptive. Let me add that to your list of skills. Speaking of which, let's see what we're working with here. Pretty unremarkable past. Not much to speak of there. I also see that you mined on Vectera, and now you're with Constellation. You've certainly been quite busy. Oh, and look at that. Right at the bottom of this list is the criminal incident that landed you in my crosshairs. You're absolutely right. Well, I'll have my people get right on that. Now that we have that out of the way, let me introduce myself. My name is Commander Kibwe Ikande, and I'm in charge of this operation for UC SysDev. Are you familiar with what we do? United Colonies System Defense. Does that help you figure out exactly what it is we do? UC SysDev is a division of the UC Navy. While they handle the big picture stuff, we deal with a very particular problem. The Crimson Fleet. That convict is where you enter the picture. Are we really playing this game? The pirates, like the ones you tangled with on Vectera? Please stop pretending you have no idea what I'm talking about. No, you don't. Not yet, anyway. We've been prodding at the Crimson Fleet for years, trying to take them down one ship at a time. But we barely scratched the surface. If we can get someone on the inside, we have a shot at finding a loose thread we can pull to bring it all down. If the military rolls in and attacks the Crimson Fleet, we'd have a full-scale war on our hands. That means losses, heavy losses, that the United Colonies can't afford. It doesn't matter how I feel. I'm simply doing what's best for the security of the United Colonies. Look, I'm going to make this simple. Agree to work for UC SysDev, and together we take down the Crimson Fleet. Refuse, and I tell these guys to throw you into the nearest lockup. Might even tack on an extra few hundred credits to your fine. I'm not coercing you into doing anything. I'm simply giving you a chance to redeem yourself. So, what do you say? You going to work with me, or should I find someone else? If I didn't think you had a chance, I would have left you in lockup. You're just going to have to follow your instincts and trust me. Smart choice. I'm going to have one of my men escort you to the operations center. I strongly suggest that you don't give him any trouble. And don't bother trying to leave the ship. I think you'll find all access to the docking area is fully restricted.
All right, let's go. So, you took the op instead of serving the time. Gonna be the commander's new role, huh? Infiltrating a bunch of pirates. You've got a lot of guts. Still, it makes you wonder, especially with the stories that go around. Like the one about how the fleet deals with informants by lashing them to the hull of a ship, and then slowly letting the air out of their suit. Could you imagine a worse way to go? I know I couldn't. But I wouldn't worry about it. Since the commander handpicked you, I'm guessing you can hold your breath for a really long time, right?
Conde's on level 2. Try not to touch anything until he actually clears you.
Hey.
All right. This is as far as I go. Take the lift up to Ops. Commander Conde should be waiting for you.
Hello.
Yes? Okay. Hello.
Ah, there you are. Excellent. Now that we've established your level of cooperation with us, I want to introduce you to your new home. This is the Operations Center of the UC Vigilance, SysDef's nerve center dedicated to the destruction of the Crimson Fleet. We are currently in the Sol system, in deep orbit around Phobos. As to why, I'll explain momentarily. Which is precisely why we're taking a more clandestine approach. We need eyes and ears inside the Crimson Fleet. Someone who can feed us information, evidence, and expose their weaknesses. The catch is that you can't just knock on their front door and ask for an application. Getting inside is going to take some finesse. I do. Our intelligence has managed to find a possible opening into the Crimson Fleet through Saoirse Bolden, one of their contacts. She works for the Trade Authority in Sidonia, so you'll be using a container of Aurora we've loaded on your ship to get her attention. Aurora is a Class A controlled substance that's illegal to transport outside of Neon, a city on Volai. Get caught with this stuff aboard a ship, and you're looking at some serious fines. That's right. So it'll be your job to convince this person that you're the real deal. Once you bluff your way into the Crimson Fleet, then the operation proceeds to evidence gathering. That's where my second-in-command, Lieutenant Gillian Toft, comes into the picture. She'll explain everything you need to know. Let's just say my superiors need proof that engaging the Crimson Fleet is a larger priority than they're willing to admit. If we shove enough concrete evidence under their noses, they'll have no choice but to allocate the resources that I've requested. At the same time, we can use the evidence to arrest members of the Crimson Fleet, weakening them enough to strike a fatal blow. We move quick around here. Better get used to it. Remember, this entire operation rests on your ability to infiltrate the Crimson Fleet and bring us the evidence we need to take them down. Then you better learn to swim, because you're diving right into the deep end on this one. I've studied your profile. I know you can do this. I'm not about to throw away someone's life on a whim or a prayer. Just use your best judgment, trust your instincts, and watch your back. I wouldn't expect any less. Look, before you begin, I want to make something perfectly clear. As an undercover operative for UC SysDef, you'll be expected to follow our code of conduct and ethics. Allow yourself to stray too far off the path, and you stand a good chance of spiraling out of control. To put it simply, you can't go into every situation with guns blazing. Think before you act. Calculate what you're doing and pull the trigger only when it's absolutely necessary. At the end of the day, your primary goal is taking down the Crimson Fleet. That's the greater good. The Crimson Fleet doesn't follow the rules. They only abide by one thing: money. All of their morals and social graces fall by the wayside in pursuit of their greed. At first glance, this can appear quite enticing, so I'm warning you not to get lured into their trap. Think you can handle that? That's what I wanted to hear. Anyway, it's time to hand you over to Lieutenant Toft. She'll brief you about the details of the evidence-gathering portion of the operation. Now, get out of here, and good luck. That's easy to answer. You don't. We'll be monitoring your activities from the Vigilance and attempting to keep it within your vicinity. When you feel you've gathered enough evidence, and at the completion of your assignments, head back here for a debrief. Beyond that, you're completely on your own. All we know is that she's been with the Trade Authority for years, which means she's been privy to some seriously shady deals. She's shrewd and she's diligent. The only reason we were able to connect her with the Crimson Fleet at all was thanks to an informant. I'm afraid she's the best lead we've got. For your own safety, nobody but myself and the crew of the Vigilance will be aware that you're working for the United Colonies. Basically, if you land in jail, you're going to have to deal with the fines. While you're running with the Crimson Fleet, you're undoubtedly going to be faced with some morally gray decisions. It's going to be difficult for you to weigh the consequences of pulling the trigger while maintaining your cover. Do what you have to do, but remember why you're out there in the first place. That's why I expect you to constantly seek alternative means to overcome your obstacles, rather than blowing holes in them. Look, I can see that you're struggling with this, so let me simplify this for you. If there's a route to your goal which doesn't involve killing innocent people, I'm urging you to follow that path. Use your instincts. I'm certain you'll do the right thing. Dismissed.
Pardon.
Howdy.
All right, we don't have a lot of time, so I need you to listen up. While you're working undercover, it's imperative that you gather as much evidence as possible. If you find any records that look suspicious or incriminating, you bring it to me. Is that understood? Rationalize it however you like, but that evidence is critical to the success of Commander Akande's operation. I want data slates, computer downloads, handwritten notes. Hell, I'll take anything if it'll get those bastards thrown into the brig. You're damn right I do. That minor skirmish you had with them on Vectera was nothing compared to the death and destruction those pirates leave behind. If you've seen what I've seen, you'd understand why I'm pushing you so hard. That's all we're asking. Oh, before you go, there's one more thing. Commander Akande has authorized a credit disbursement for each piece of evidence that you return, as compensation for your efforts. Commander Akande came up with the idea. He was concerned you might not help us simply because it was the right thing to do. All right, we've loaded a container of Aurora into your ship's cargo hold. We're also providing you with a sample you can use to tease the goods. We've cleared your ship for launch. Proceed to Sidonia. Make contact with Saoirse Bowden, and with any luck, she'll point you to the Crimson Fleet. That should do it. You're dismissed. Not really, no. I've learned to keep my personal experiences separate from the job. That's a fine point, but in my defense, I was under orders to make sure we weren't pulling some kind of psycho into the mix. And honestly, there are far bigger things at stake than my personal feelings towards the Crimson Fleet. Let's just stick to the job at hand and concentrate on the mission. But, maybe we can talk about it some other time, okay? Don't worry, the container's been registered with UC Security, so you shouldn't have any trouble. Even if you're scanned. Of course, if we find out you tried to sell it to someone outside the boundaries of this particular operation, well, I don't think I need to tell you the consequences of making that mistake. We'll be keeping them close at hand until this operation is complete. So, we'll be holding them in the Vigilance's brig. If you're feeling particularly ruthless, you could always head down there and say hello. I'm sure they'll be thrilled to see you. We'll be here if you need us.
Excuse me.
Yes, what? Hey. Okay, SysDef Marines are the best of the best.
Once we get rid of all the pirates, the galaxy will be a better place.
If you have any questions, now's the time to ask. As you were.
Commander Ikande is the heart and soul of UC SysDef. I'd follow him to the ends of the galaxy.
Howdy.
Excuse me. Yes?
Pardon.
I've got nothing to say to you, convict.
I don't know about you. That isn't it. We've got plenty of fresh faces picked right from the Academy. But yours happen to come from a different farm. The prison one, if we're being honest. But if Commander Ikande says you're SysDef, then you are one of us. For now. You guessed it. In fact, I'd say you've got what linguistic experts call FOGO, a firm grasp of the obvious. But I'm not just any pilot. I'm the best, and I've got the kills to prove it. You got some set of manners, kid. The fleet are gonna eat you up. Long story. I got my start in the Academy and made a name for myself hunting the Crimson Fleet. I eventually got recruited to do test flights on a star station orbiting Lloyden's Rock. Me and 3 other Archangel pilots did some work on some extremely dangerous prototypes. But I called in a few favors and got back home with SysDef. Someone with my talents needs to be here, where the action is. I cut my teeth on space trucks, believe it or not. Before I got my stripes, I was just another cargo hauler trying to earn an honest wage. But after a couple slick escapes, I got recruited to the Academy and went from dodging pirates to hunting them. Thing is, some of my best tricks were with a big rig. Ever try a pitchback with a Hope Tech truck with 2 fleet wraiths on your tail? Compared to that, doing it with a military fighter is a piece of cake. You guessed it, but I'm not just any pilot. Later, Gator.
Yes, you need me? Yes? I have sharpened the blade for this very occasion. Just in case we need it.
It was a pleasure.
Glad to be part of the team.
Captain.
Always a pleasure, Captain.
Dad and I will be riding passenger with you. The most boring job in space travel. I'll say. You ever heard of the Mantis, the famous bounty hunter? Some people say the Mantis has superpowers. I don't think that's true, though. They're just really tough and have a cool ship. If you had a cool ship, you'd be like the Mantis, only better. I bet you'd make a pretty great superhero. The Lodge is kind of like a secret lair already, right? We're keeping these super secret artifacts here right under everybody's noses. Does that mean you're already a superhero then? That's awesome! It's the best. I met another kid my age who hadn't been on a starship once. Not even once! Same boring old planet for like years. She didn't even know how to replace a phase manifold. Can you imagine? Bye!
Appreciate the lift. And once we touch down in Aquila, we'll talk more.
Corco, that room of yours better be clean next time I go in there.
I'll get to it, Dad. I promise.
This ain't my getting around to a tone, you understand?
Fine.